Well, welcome back, everybody. We're really excited to have this awesome panel discussion. So I'm going to be like your moderator. Now we're going to do a little housekeeping here. That will be your microphone, Sarah.
Okay.
Gunnar and Roy, you will share that microphone.
this
Great to have Gunnar Peterson here, by the way. He's going to talk to us about fitness coaching and how we can coach ourselves as well to be better coaches and to be more successful. So how it's going to work is, if you have a question, well, actually, maybe we'll hear from Gunnar a little bit for a little opening remarks. But after that, if you have a questions, raise your hand. I will come to you with the microphone. You ask the question, and we all have a great time. Everybody good with that? While you're enjoying your lunch? All right. Well, Gunnar, I just wanted to, first of all, welcome you. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And
thanks for Terry for putting this on, and the wife. You guys just do great stuff.
remember what I said, guys. You got to share that microphone.
So much pressure.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting this on. Every time you do an event here, I'm happy, honored to be included, and it's fun to show up and just watch you keep growing this. And it's nice. It's a great place to do it, and I think you got the right end goal in your sight. So thank you.
Let's give a hand for Terry.
Yeah, Terry!
Terry works his tuck us off.
He's a hard-working man.
And he's the only guy who dropped the F-bombs so far, so I'm going to follow you.
Thank
Gunnar, if I were to ask you what the number one aspect of a good coach is, what would you say it would be, especially, I guess, as it pertains to being a fitness coach?
A good I'll keep it in the training.
Yeah,
game,
trainer,
right?
coach.
I think you have to be consistent with what you do and not try to follow all the trends. I mean, there are things to adopt, there are things to pull. It's a business of poaching for sure, but you have to know what you're about. I think you touched on that. I mean, you started the way I would have started. What does everybody do? I want to know. I've done presentations before, and I say, how many trainers here? This. How many Pilates people? This. How many yoga people? This. How many PTs? This. How many MDs? This. And then you have the Pilates people leave, and then you really no laughs for kicking the Pilates.
I was with you on it. I'm like, yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. And then they get mad, and you go, I'm kidding. And then as long as you're staying early, but you can pull, like we do movements at my gym that pull from everything from strongman stuff to powerlifting stuff, from Pilates to yoga. There are ways to find it. And then as the trainer, as the coach, create your own protocols and philosophies and follow them, right? With the ability, giving yourself the out, if you will, to adapt and change, but not to flip-flop. That's where I think you lose it. You lose credibility in the eyes of the client. You lose credibility in the eyes of the industry. And over time, if you keep doing that, you water down the industry, and that's not a good place to be. And then everybody is questioned, and everybody's looked at sideways because they've had an experience with a coach who flip-flops.
Yeah. I mean, specialization, I mean, how important is that? Like with my clients, I try to specialize in, metabolic conditioning, and obviously, somebody wants to get in there and do bodybuilding and clang and bang, I can certainly help them with that as well.
But bodybuilding has such a funny reputation, right? At the end of the day, well, two things. One, it's a misnomer. It's body destroying, right? You're breaking it down. It's building when you leave. But at the end of the day, the large majority of people seek out someone in health, fitness, wellness to change the look of their body. And that sounds so superficial and so late 80s, early 90s. But if you ask around, in my experience, other than athletes who are on a path towards being a professional, if not already professional, almost everybody would sacrifice performance for looks. And you don't want to say that because that, harkens you back to neon signs and chrome gyms of that era. But really, everybody wants, David Barton, I don't know if you know him out of Miami, David Barton coined that phrase, he might have trademarked it, look better naked. Everybody wants that, but nobody wants to say that because you sound like a superficial dick. But really, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I trained a guy, R.I.P., I don't want to mention names because that's indiscreet, Matthew Perry, and he said, I just don't want to look disgusting when I have girls over, when I'm naked. And I'm like, got it. I think that's dumbing it way, way, way down, but I also think that that's a fair cornerstone to many people's fitness pursuits. And I think let's not look down on that. That's as good a pursuit as any. And then look at it like the health benefits that come with that, the benefits in performance that come with that. Or flip it, pursue performance, and the look is going to be a side effect or a side benefit. I don't mind which one you chase as long as we're
Right.
all clear that end goal
And
is
just be honest about it, right?
Yeah, end goal is probably not that. It's probably more similar than dissimilar.
Right.
Other than like groups of people who are coming from a severe health concern or people who are pursuing performance in a specific endeavor that is probably part of their livelihood, right? Mm-hmm. Not the athlete I'm not the guy who wants to bowl better or the guy who wants to play better beach volleyball, but the guy who goes, I'm coming up on the end of my rookie contract, I'm looking down the pipe of a massive 5-year deal. If you tell him you got to do this to perform better, but your body is going to be grossly misshapen, sorry, he'll go, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, because you're speaking to me right now, because I did just compete in the CrossFit Games, and one of the things that my coach was constantly telling me was that we got to get more calories in you. You're going to have to put on a little bit of size. You're going to have to do this. And I am willing to compromise not being that performance because I am on stage teaching a body pump class in front of people. That's my job.
Shout out to Les Mills.
Right. So I think that I'm willing to compromise the athletic performance for more of a look. Exactly what you're saying. I think most people are that way.
Or the other way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's 100% true.
Well, very good. We got the best of all worlds here on this panel right here. We got Sara to talk about the leadership aspect, Gunnar to talk about the training aspect,
And even throw F-bombs.
and Roy to throw F-bombs and also talk about
Don't
building
discount
good relationships and collaborating. So we're going to open it up to questions right now. Again, if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll come running up to you with the microphone, speak nice and clearly into the microphone, and we'll get the party started. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so early on, right, I'm 3 months into my business, and I guess this will be a two-part question, is how big is the net that you cast, right? I know that if you're marketing to one, everybody, you're marketing to nobody. And then secondly is there's so many people out there that are like, well, hey, give me X amount of dollars, I can do all this stuff and get you clients and all this stuff. There's all of these ads and scams, I would say, right? So for the question is, how do you identify, or what's too narrow of a optic to identify who you want to help when you believe that you can vastly help, a high achiever get to the next level, or you can help that individual who's motivated that may not just know his or her true potential, and you could help get that person to that next level. Because that's a big, net that you're casting. But do you recommend casting that net early on, that big net to get clients? Or do you want to focus narrow, like this is who the market clientele that I want to focus on?
So if you chase 2 rabbits, which one do you catch? Right.
Damn it, that's what I was going to say. The man who chases 2 squirrels catches none.
right, yeah. So I think that one of the because I think your personality is a little bit like mine. Like we want to do better. We want more. Like I'm never satisfied with anything. Like I want more. I want to be better. But just learning enough. Like all you need is enough. So figuring out like what your budget is, what money that you need to make, and what time you're willing to put in, and then you just need enough right now. And then as you continue to grow that and get more time available or more trainers under you, then that number, of course, continues to go up. But just kind of keeping that mindset of enough, tomorrow's not promised, so are we doing enough today to satisfy our needs for today? And if so, then just kind of stay in that space. Because I think people yes, we want to dream big, but when we dream too big, then we're kind of paralyzing ourselves because we're constantly chasing instead of just being like, okay, 2 clients today, that's enough for me. I'm good. And then continuing on.
Let's run with analogies because they're fun and they're easy. One, like, what's your elevator pitch, right? You have to know what you are and how to describe it in your ride on the elevator with someone else. Does that make sense? Everybody get that elevator? And I've done this in presentations, and guys go, "Oh, I'll help you get in shape." I'm like, fucking ding, I'm out, because that doesn't tell me anything about you. If I get in an elevator and I see you, because fuck, dude, that's a lot. No. But I go like this. What's up, dude? What do you do?
I smile at you and say, what's up?
Right, and I go, fuck, you're jacked. What do you do for a living?
Oh, shoot. I just say a little bit of everything. I run my own business. Yep.
But if you're looking at me as a potential client, you got to come back with, how can I hook this dude? I have this ride. He's getting out on 16.
Yeah.
What can you say? And you say training, and I go, it's a little broad, 12, 13, 14. You got to hit me with something that makes me go, whoa, I want a piece of that, right? Not in that way, Sarah.
I understand.
But
I'm tracking.
You know what I mean? So a trainer, actually anyone in any business, to capture your targeted demographic, you have to have that, right? The Tom Sawyer thing of painting the fence, I'm a big fan of. You paint the fence, you're having so much fun painting the fence, which is a punishment, that people are like, hey, what are you doing? Or I want to get some, why do you do that? And I go, I'm chilling, I'm painting my fence. I'm having so much fun painting my fence. Well, can I paint? No, you can't. And eventually, they're going to want to take the paintbrush from you, and eventually they're going to pay you to paint the fence. So how do you get them? How do you draw them in, right? My dad says that his business, my dad retired at 50, the business model was get monkey in cage, close cage, right? How do you get them in? How do you close it so they stay in?
I see what you're saying, dude. On that too, what would you say to someone to hook them? Because I misunderstood the question.
Okay, yeah.
And that's why I answered it how I did. But typically, because I do have people, half the time they just think I'm some street fighter or something. But I get to talking to people and build a connection. And for me, it's maybe a little too much, but it's just honest. Like, hey, I'm here to help you build discipline and maintain a healthier lifestyle. And
then, but then I go, oh, how do you do that?
You would say, oh, how do you do that?
Because if I'm sitting there going, fuck, I want to look like you, I need you to tell me what it is you do to get me to look like that, so I can decide if I want to pay you money to help me follow your path. So if you say, strength and conditioning, all right, it's still a little broad. If you say personal training, if you say weight loss, if you say I help you lose belly fat, I don't know. But how? So you have to be able to describe, if you flip the question to me, if we're role reversed in an elevator, I'm gonna say I'm a personal trainer. Oh, really? What kind of training? We do a lot of metabolic conditioning stuff. We do a lot of strength training through all three planes of motion, so that everything you do in the gym helps everything you do outside the gym better. Obviously, we focus on body composition, but it depends on the person's goals, but it's going to always be geared towards that, so they get the most out of the hour when they're in the gym with us.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So then they can kind of, in their minds, visualize, oh, I could see them conditioning, so it's going to be some work and weight training. They're not going to walk in and go, whoa, weights? I don't want weights, and that scares them. But it's also, I'm letting you know right out of the gate, it ain't yoga.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with yoga, but you got the wrong guy.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Yeah. When I think back to you, whatever your passion is to start is kind of the lane I would stay in to start, and then you'll branch out into other.
And I see that the lane I want to go is the high performers, right? Because I lived that life.
But you
for
have
16
to
years.
know you can help anyone.
Yes.
Exactly.
You have to be at that stage.
100%.
The first tennis player I trained was Pete Sampras, right? If you don't know who he is, Google him. He won 14 Grand Slams when nobody had won more than 13, and that record had stood for 20 years. First boxer I trained was Mike Tyson. So you have to know, and when I got that call, yeah, sure, there's the, fuck, Mike?
Yeah.
Ah! But can I do it? Yeah, I can do it because I know how to train the body. I've watched enough boxing to know the movement patterns. I know that it's a 3-minute round with a 1-minute rest. I know it's a 10-round fight unless it's a title fight, which is 12 rounds. I can put this together, and I know I have the belief in myself, the confidence in myself. I've trained enough people, boxers or not, that I can do that. I'm not holding mitts for them. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
But I can get him physically where he needs to be to showcase his boxing talents at the highest level. Easy. Let's go.
So if that's the case, then would you have gone, if you had to start from, square one and target that ICA, would that be that professional athlete then? Or, because you can train anyone, right? And I feel I can work with anyone, right? I'm adaptable. I can focus on there. I can listen to understand and not respond in all these aspects. But if I'm focusing on that one demographic, right, then that's me hyper focused, right? There's only one squirrel, not two. But I can get the person who's that second squirrel and get him up to that level.
Well, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to catch a lot of squirrels before you get the squirrel. And I had somebody tell me years ago, don't chase pro athletes. Stay with the actors and celebrities you train. The pro athletes will dump you, they're not loyal to you, and they won't stay with you for long periods of time, and they might even stiff you. And I'm like, yeah, but I like working with the athlete. I like seeing what we've done come to life on the field of play. I enjoy that. And they're like, it's a bad move.
No.
And so but I was also in the right place. I was in LA, so it was easy to straddle the two demographics, right? Sometimes you got to commit to one, you got to commit to the other. And then I took a job with a pro team hired by the organization, and there was some flack to them, but they stood by me, and from some players, saying, oh, this guy trains fucking celebrities. And I'm like, dude, if you want to knock this workout out, we can do it, or you could sit there and keep jawing. And then he went through the workout, and at the end he was like, fuck. Yeah. It's just it's a head, a torso, 4 pentadactyl limbs, this many muscles. Like, we know what we're doing. It's the body. As trainers, you already know how to work it. It doesn't matter what they do for a living. If you've set your programming to tackle what they're looking for, you can train anyone. And I would imagine the same in your mindset game, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can coach anyone. You can get me better. You can get Sarah better. You can get Terry better. You can get us there. And if Mike Tyson calls you, you can work with that too.
Yeah.
Take the call. Take the call.
101, take the call.
Actually, that should have been my first answer to you. The best way for a coach to get better is return texts, return calls, return emails. I reached out to, what's that?
To preach.
Yeah, but it's true. All right, 2 people I'll tell you. There's a guy named Pavel Tsatsulin who's Russian kettlebell guy, great guy, interesting guy. But when I first reached out, he reached out to me, and then I followed up. He didn't answer for 4 days. And they go, and he writes back, he goes, sorry, I respond to emails on Monday. I'm like, who the fuck responds to emails on Monday? Like, respond to the email. It was before texting was really. Here also, when I first moved here, I was trying to do a gym, a struggle bus with the city of Franklin, and I thought maybe I'd just invest in an already existing gym and partner up. Every gym needs a cash infusion, tell me I'm wrong. And so I reached out to an owner of a gym here, again, don't want to be indiscreet, Quantum, and the guy didn't write back. And the front desk, I was paying a day rate, and the guy, everybody at the front desk knew who I was, knew what I was doing, and they said, you should call the guy. So I called the owner. 2 days later, I didn't hear back, and I said, hey, I haven't heard from you. Did I get the number right? And they go, yeah, he does all his phone calls on Wednesday. I go, who has a day of the week where you return calls? That's, to me, insane. Not to tell anybody how to run their business, but I think it's insane, especially in today's world. It's 24/7. That's just how it works. You guys know that.
Yeah.
Return your calls, return your texts, return your emails. Even if you get to it at the end of the night, you go, hey, going to bed, ran behind today, I owe you a text, I'll hit you tomorrow. Boom. At least you have acknowledged the person. To not return that, you're a bozo and you will be left in the dust. Period.
Well, and people are shopping, so if they're contacting you,
You
they're
ain't the
contacting
first call.
somebody else. Yeah.
Or you're not the last either
Right.
way.
And you
right.
may get away with it for a while, or you may be, I'm so busy, I don't even need that. Maybe, but you don't know what it's going to lead to. The biggest referral of business I ever had was a pediatrician in LA who I trained for 23 years, once a week, like clockwork, but he referred everyone to me. If I hadn't returned his call as a pediatrician, like who wants to train a pediatrician? I don't, but I did, and he ended up being a great friend. And he'll help my wife, he'll help obviously my kids. He'll do a prescription for my brother who lives overseas for medicine for balding. Like, fuck, that's a great guy. You know, if I hadn't returned that call or blown it off because I was already so busy and so cool, I lose.
Yeah, so I got a call on a Friday. This is a couple of weeks ago, or a DM actually. I got this DM from this girl. Hey, can you do a one-off shirt? And I was like you. I'm like, I really don't want to, but I can. Yes, I'll glad to. Send me what you got. When do you need it? I need it today. Oh, of course you do. That's how it works, right? Sure. I'll meet you. Where do I go? I was at my warehouse. Here's the address. What time can you meet me there? I'll meet you there at 1:30. Great. 1 o'clock. I get a DM from a different account. Girl's name was Julie. Julie said, hey, you were talking to my assistant. I'll be there at 1:30. So now I'm like, girl has an assistant? Let me do a little deep dive here. So she had 400,000 Instagram followers. Okay, now this is getting very interesting. She shows up, 1:30. Well, I'm asking all the questions. She's had outsourced her apparel brand for years. She's not happy. She asked them, who they were making money off of her, to make a one-off, just put numbers and a name on a shirt. They wouldn't do it. She called a printer in Franklin and asked them, and they said, we don't do that. You should probably go buy yourself a Cricut at Hobby Lobby. Cool. So she calls me. I'm the third call. I said yes. Now I'm printing all her apparel. And, she shouts us out on Instagram. She's got 400,000 followers. Take the call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What else do we have for the panel? Raise your hand and I'll bring the mic over to you.
She raised her hand.
Okay, there was a hand.
Okay.
All right, this is for Gunnar. This is kind of surreal to be talking to you, I think, following you, training famous people for years. So we have this new product, and the reason I'm on board, pun intended, is because when John made it, he was looking at it just for stretching and yoga, and I said, no, you can use this as a base to do HIIT workouts. You can do a lot of different resistance training. You can do all kinds of things with this one thing.
Breakfast in bed.
The
first thing I see.
It looks a little weird too, right?
First thing I
there's a
see.
whole other. there's another shoot right there.
Wipe it down, breakfast in bed.
Charcuterie with Hegel.
There you go.
Oh my God.
So, so you're talking about elevator pitches, and one of the things, because in my previous job or business venture, my elevator pitch was tight, concise, easy. I'm struggling with coming up with one here because my whole interest in this is that it has a broad application. It can potentially appeal to anything from using stretchy bands to helping golfers with their swings, to yogis, to people wanting to do a more explosive workout. So what would you advise for my approach to tighten up an elevator pitch when the whole appeal is the broadness of the application?
I would say something like it gives you anchor points from the floor, because it's so hard when we're stretching or when someone is doing sport-specific movement patterns to anchor from the ground. And everybody needs that, and it's great when you're in a gym space, but when you're not, you can do that, and a golfer can put his foot against it, or you can come down and get a pull from the bottom. Pull movements are always harder to do when you're on the road, right? Like, to me, that's a pitch for a hotel room, right? Mm-hmm. If that's in a hotel room, I go, oh, I got it. I can come down and I can get a stretch in the lats. I can get a stretch in the biceps. I can drive my foot against it without, wrecking furniture or anything. So something like anchor point from the floor, those are terms that people go, it's an anchor point. Oh, but it's not too technical that you sound like all the trainers who shove a medical thesaurus up their ass and try to talk like a doctor. You're not a doctor. Shut up. Stop trying to bury me with your wisdom. Just use words that we all know.
Right. I don't want to get like Chamber of Commerce-y, with just throwing a bunch of buzzwords out that don't
Correct.
mean anything either. So,
Yeah. Pulling pattern, to me, I look at that, I can pull. I can get into a stretch pattern, and I can accentuate my stretch by adding a pull component to it.
right. We have a thing we lace underneath it
Right.
and do a bunch of workout, do a bunch of different kinds of exercises, and or pulling it on it with your feet on it.
Totally.
We've just been having fun playing with it and coming up with stuff. So
And a lot of times that's how you'll get your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Just the more you're using it and seeing all the different things, and then practice your elevator pitch. I had to practice mine for a while before I just got it down. We put out the most puntastic shirts found anywhere on the internet, which is the hook. They're like, what does
Talk
that
to my
mean?
assistant.
Yeah. which is the hook, right? It sets the hook, and they're like, well, tell me more. What does that mean? Which, that's all that is. Your elevator pitch isn't the sell, it's the hook. We want to get into a conversation. If I'm on an elevator, Gunnar walks in, I'm like, okay, shit, hold it together, right? He's here, and I see what number he hits, and I'm like, all right, I've got 30 seconds to hook him for a conversation. And I say my pitch, and then he doesn't get off at 4-6. I'm like, okay, now we're in a conversation. You know,
Right.
maybe exchange some information, you know, and that's how you make your contact potential sell down the road. But just practice the elevator pitch. And the more you use the thing, you'll learn all the different.
It's not a hooky pitch, right? It's a way to, like you said, just to continue the conversation. And then there you work on hooking, right? You don't hook people right when they walk in. That always comes across as shady to me. You just lead them into a conversation.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to be sold. Like, I don't want to be sold.
No,
but
correct.
If I'm intrigued, I'm intrigued. Naturally, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Don't ask for the
But you don't
sell.
say it and then look down at your phone either. You can't be that. Yeah. I'm a trainer.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good
Yeah.
talk. Good talk. Yeah.
And it is a hard thing. So my previous venture was coaching people
Lawyers.
in job interviews, and so practice. You know what the layup questions are. Why are you here? Why do you want to work here? What do you want to do? Why did you go to law school? You know that, and you have to know how to answer that, and you have to answer it on the beat. So and then you realize when you try to do it yourself how hard it is
Yeah.
to do that when someone asks you the very obvious layup question. But trying to tighten up now that it's a completely new area it's hard.
We're starting off with hi sharks. Now it's fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Hi sharks.
Hi, sharks.
Yeah, fill in the blank.
But then you go, I should train this girl who was a model, and she was single from Mississippi. She was in LA, and she started telling me about being hit on all the time. And she talked about one in particular characteristic of a guy who was hitting on her that, in her words, made him unfuckable. And I'm like, never heard that word. And the conversation eventually morphed into, we wanted to write a coffee table book about everything that made someone unfuckable. And the things she said initially were desperation, entitlement, anger, and then she went on to things like mandals, drinks with straws, and I'm like,
Wow.
but it was just a funny thing where it went. So bitterness was another one, but she went on and on. So I would say if you avoid things like desperation, bitterness, anger, entitlement, those are great things to stay. I would say stay away from them all the time, but definitely when you're selling something, as a guy was selling to her, those are right away. She shut down.
Right.
This conversation was over. It's not happening, no matter what.
Instant. Yeah.
So I've kept that in my mind since then because I find that A, it's funny, and B, they're one-word things that you go, and I'm sure you'll all have them in your mind. What makes that person, call it unfuckable because it was her word and it was funny, got to give her credit. But if you think about it, unsellable, what makes you a coach that, nope, right away, not going to train with you. And I don't mind being polarizing one way or another. And I let my personality come out when I work with somebody, and I know I've lost some people because of it, and I'm okay with that. There are 8 billion people in the world. Relax. There are enough for everybody. Share it. Give it away. And if you know, when I first started, I used to go, the people who resisted me the most, my mind said, how can I make this person fall in love with me and fall in love with training and spin the whole thing around? Now, if I feel any pushback, I'm like, oh God, Saturday I'm slammed, but Colin's available. my other trainer because I just don't want it anymore. I don't want to do that song and dance. I don't want to do that courtship. I don't want to sell fitness to anyone. If you want to train, great, let's go. Let's work. I want to train you because of your work ethic, because you want this that bad. But I don't want to train you if I have to convince you that you should be training. I don't give a fuck if you train or not. I worked out today. If you do, great. If you don't, rock on. See you at your funeral.
But he's earned that.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Yeah,
He's earned that.
I kissed a lot of frogs.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. He's earned that ability. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not here to convince anybody.
But I don't mean
Right.
that in a bad way. That just means we're not a fit.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Oh, that's something I had to learn as a trainer because I was,
I don't need to convince you.
right,
I don't
and
need
it
to
was,
sell-
and it, I was reaching out to everybody, and I was getting nickeled and dimed to death and stiffed, and I decided, kind of like what Gunnar said. I said, you know what? I'm going to be more, distinctive and more, selective is the word I'm looking for about who I train. I'm going to up my rates, and I'm going to be like, this is the deal. I'm going to do a great job with you. I'm going to get you in great shape. Here's what it is. I need the money all up front, and let's go. You're in or you're out. And if you're out, like Gunnar said, move on to the next one. 8 million people in the
But you
world.
can do it without being challenging and confrontational. It's just that it just is what it is.
People will respect you more too in the long run. Like as you do
Yeah,
that.
and some are gonna go. He's a dick. He thinks that, and like that's fine too. But I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Go. You train with somebody else. So I'm not a match for everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody's a match for everybody.
For sure. I think for me it was like understanding that it was like, I guess I can train anybody, but I want to train people that are willing to change the narrative and change the mindset about loving themselves through movement. You know what I mean? That's my niche.
I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue down to the rep count.
Yes.
If I go, we're going 12, and they go, da-da-da, and then they stop, I go, you got 2 more. That was 12. Oh, fuck. I'm not going to argue with you.
No.
I went to Duke. You fucking went to whatever community college. Shut up. I count better than you. Period. And then I do this with I have an NFL guy now, and he laughs. He goes, I know you went to Duke. And he goes, and that's why it's a shame that you can't even count, and you went to Duke. That's more a reflection on Duke. That I go, shut up. Do the reps. Like, we're not arguing. I don't care. Your career depends on it. My career's done. My story's written. I'm not trying to, shimmy out of 2 reps here, buddy. Like, do it. But the ones who crank 3 more go, they're better. I go, not bad. The first 2 are better, but we're fine. I want that guy in my gym. I want the guy who comes at me, not the person who tries to dip out.
Which is a lot of the people now.
That's fine,
It's
but
a lot of the people
I'm not selling it to you.
in today's world, I guess.
You're selling energy as a trainer. You are not selling fitness. And when you get that mindset right,
Yes.
you will have a much better day.
Yes.
You are not selling fitness. Stop. Sell the energy that they can't muster up themselves. That's why they hire you, because they can't do it without you, essentially. I know what I'm doing. Well, it doesn't look like it, but okay. Why are you here?
It's true.
Any more questions for the panel?
I got one question. And all these things you're saying, I can reflect on like where I messed up with it as far as that goes, because I've had a client. I had a client that was paying me really well, but he just wanted to argue about everything. And he's like,
Why are we doing this?
why are we doing this? Like deadlifts and squats don't burn calories, and I'm like,
Was he in
where the hell did you
phenomenal
get that?
shape?
Yeah, he was a D1 football player, and I think he just is a big lineman. So I think he just kind of had this mindset. And good dude, but I got to the point I was like, you know what? You're uncoachable. This is stressing me out. I'm gonna cut this tie. And yeah, it was a chunk of money
But there's
lost.
a way to do that without having it be ugly. There's
Yeah.
a way to break up without it being like, call the attorneys, we're having a divorce. There's
Yeah.
a way to do it. And when you get that down, everybody feels okay.
Exactly. So just a lot of reflection here, and based off what you're saying. But one thing I've had a big hurdle of mine this year. I know a lot of these guys know. What would y'all say is like your best platform or way to get out there besides like getting to events like this, like through social media? Or what would be the one specific thing that's been the best for your growth and like connecting with people and marketing yourself?
I mean, and, you know, like Gunnar said, you have the look for it. So that's what like. If I'm in the grocery store or something and someone's like, oh my gosh, like I want my wife to have arms like you or whatever, you know, immediately like, let me give you a pass to come in and I'll meet with her or, you know, whatever. So really just getting out in the community and not intentionally going out, but be at the grocery store or be at the coffee shop or whatever and wear your gear, you know, wear your tank tops. And the guys that work for me kind of laugh at me because I'm like, wear your tight shirt when you go out, you know, you don't work out to not wear, and they're like, Sarah, you can't say that to people. I'm like, no, you need to wear your tight shirt.
No, I can't. Actually,
All right.
I can totally say that.
But things like that, wear that stuff out there because people are it's much easier for them to come up to you as opposed to awkwardly being in like academy sports and be like, hey, sir, you look like you work out. Where do you work out? And then you strike it up. Whereas if they come up to you, it's just an easier sell, if you will.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the best because I went through the whole Instagram cancellation thing. Like I had 4 pages deleted permanently. Can't make a new one. It's impossible. So I'm like, all right, how do I get past that? And obviously there's been growth. I mean, you know, you find opportunity elsewhere and like my YouTube's tripled in size since then. And, you know, you just figure it out. The obstacle's the way, right? But I guess, you know, this is all new to me, getting out there, marketing, connecting with people. So just what you're saying is, hey, the best way to go is just to put yourself out there and be more present in different places.
If people know that, I mean, again, you have the look for it. If people know that you're about it and you're shopping at Clean Eats and you're going to nutrition stores and you're wearing workout gear, like people are they're looking at you as the professional.
Cool.
You know, I used it a lot of times when I taught our sales seminar, and I'll never forget this, and you guys are probably going to think it's dumb, but because it's a girl thing. But I remember in college, I went to the MAC counter at like the local department store or whatever, and I was like, I want to get new makeup. And I've always been an athlete, so I was never really into makeup. And I wanted the girl to tell me like what I need. And I'm like, what do I need? Tell me what, you know, what colors or what I need and all this. And she said to me, and I'll never forget it, she said, go home and research it and then come back in and I'll help you find what you need. Do you think I ever went back?
No.
No. And really, I mean, whatever she would have told me that day, I would have bought into it. I would have, you know, she's the professional in this. So it's the same thing with fitness. Like people are looking at us as the professional. Like, what are you going to do to help me get like you are?
Cool.
And I think just having that approach towards people is probably the easiest.
But you also can't touch that. You can't respond wholly to that question without addressing social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I sat at Summer Strong. If you guys know Soar next to Summer Strong in South Carolina, I sat there one year with a good friend of mine, Jen Wiederstrom. If you know her, she was on Biggest Loser for a couple seasons. She was on Gladiators before that. She's just a dear friend. And we sat, and we always sit front row because you got to support. And 4 guys in a row literally shit on social media. And I looked at her, I go, next presentation we do, I'm going the other way. I go, because when you shit on that, you sound like the person who shits on the club that doesn't let you in. Mm-hmm. And here's the cool thing about social media. It's voluntary. Mm-hmm. So if you don't like it, get off it. Mm-hmm. But to then trash talk it, you sound like an idiot. You sound like you're trash talking something that doesn't.
The club that won't let you in.
Correct, right? It's like I want to date that girl, but I know she won't date me. She's a bitch. Yeah. Hang on. No. So, you know, you got to look at social and go, do it for you. And I've never had a publicist, but I've had managers and they're like, your social engagement is out. I'm like, I don't care. It's where I'm cool that I put what I want on. I don't have a team. I don't have any of that. And does it grow like it should? No. Do I get shadow banned because I like something that has a gun or a handicap? Or yeah, probably. But I don't worry about it because I'm using it to whatever degree I want to use it. I'm not trying to curate something to bring people in. You'll come if you want and you won't if you don't. And I'm good with that. And there are, again, 8 billion people. There are enough for everybody. How many clients do you want? How many do you think you could handle one-on-one? And that's a whole different conversation when you're talking about the digital space, which is not my world. I know a little about it, but I'm not trying to have 10,000 members. Right, I only want the number of people that I can handle day to day and handle the interactions and handle your programming and that. I don't care about the rest. So use it in a way that you enjoy, and then it will serve you. But if you're using it to get it to serve you and you're going against the grain of who you are, I think that's an effort and frustration.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, you're unique.
Correct.
Put your authentic self out there. That way you attract the right customer.
They'll see through it if you don't. If you
Well,
try to
and-
be someone you're not,
Yeah.
they'll see
Yes.
through it.
And you'll have a bigger headache getting people to buy in, and then they get there and they're like, yeah, we don't vibe. Well, no shit. You know,
It's not what I thought.
yeah.
Yeah,
So just put you out there, and then people love you that know you.
yeah.
I mean, I've known you for years. And
I love you. Now I just met you today.
Same.
but you know what I mean? Like you will attract the right people, and yeah,
And you don't need them all.
Right.
you can't handle them all.
You don't. Yeah.
And you really don't want them all.
Like you
Yeah.
said, like a lot of my content based off the podcast and just what we talk about is typically serious. And in the things I write, I love to write, so I put out, things that are relevant to my life that are serious. So, it's been suggested like, hey, you don't have to be serious all the time. I want to create content, but I'm so like hard on myself. I'm asking my wife, I'm like, is this video stupid about me singing about this Starbucks flavor? You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
She's
that's
like, no,
some
she's
that's
like,
the funnest stuff you put
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And
also-
also, that's authentic. Put that out there
Yeah.
because it shows people a different side. But I'm like, just so used to being serious, so I'm trying to branch out. And
But there's a couple things people say everything online lives forever. Yeah, okay. Meaning it can be dug up at some point if you did something horrific, but also it lives for 3 hours.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it comes, it goes.
I'm not planning on doing anything horrific.
Right. Solid plan.
He said planet.
But you know what I mean? Like what you put, don't overthink. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Very few people are going to watch one post and go unfollow.
And if they do, didn't need them.
Fine.
That's the
Right.
thing, just slowing this down.
It's not there.
Yeah.
And then you can also follow it up with another post. So the people you didn't lose, if it was not a high performing post, maybe your next one is. But you don't post it and then overthink and stress over it. That's not what the design, it shouldn't be like that.
Of course.
Post what you want, throw that shit out there and be done. Unless you work for a company and then you have to be careful. I took a job with the Lakers years ago and I shouldn't digress, too late. And
Too deep.
and I was in with HR signing all the paperwork with the chief of staff, Elaine, and she goes, "There is something about I'd like to talk to you about on your social media." And I was like, "Really? My social media is pretty direct, and I mean it's like exercise, kids, dogs," and I said, "Yeah." I think, how could I have gone against the grain on social? I'm so vanilla with it. And she goes, there's a man's buttocks on, and I go,
Oh my God.
oh, wow. Because 3 months before I got hired, my parents live outside of Memphis, and I had flown home, and I got a call from one of my NBA players early off season, and he goes, "Dude, I stopped by your gym. You're not here." And I said, "Okay, well, I don't do drop-ins, fool. What do you want?" And he said, "I'm taking over your shit." And I said, "Really?" And he sends me a picture, and he's 6'10", white guy, and he turned, and his ass was just giant anyway. And it's in the forefront of the picture, and my office is behind him. And I said, "Are you crazy to send me that? I will post that." And he goes, "Dare you?" And I wrote, "Have we met?" And I posted it, and I said, "When you're away, sometimes clients get upset, but they have to deal with it." Innocuous post, whatever. Tons of women wrote me, "This is vile, this is disgusting, this is whatever," and I'm unfollowing, and I'm like, okay, unfollow. I really don't care. Like, by the way, there's so many women in bathing suits and booty shots. I'm like, really, one guy's butt does it to you? All right. But I completely forgot about that post. It was 3 months prior. And I'm sitting there signing my first corporate job at 50-something years old, by the way. That's a win. And, and I go, oh, Yeah, happy to take that down.
Forgot it was there.
So it does live for a few minutes. A few people were pissed and they unfollowed me, and then months later it comes up. Whoops. So
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
I still have the pic, by the way, in my camera. Just saying. It was funny.
Anything else for our great panel? All right. I think that's going to wrap it up. We want to thank all you for doing this with us today, and we appreciate it. It's been a great time, and hope you got enough to eat. Hope you got some water in you, and hope you learned a thing or two. So again, I want to thank everybody for having me out here today. I've had a great time today, and somebody that's really seriously considering